Hello viewers, welcome to Candid Conversations with Ganesh Kuppala. First of all, thank you so much for overwhelming response that you have given to this series. As you heard me speaking to a lot of politicians and influential Indians, I today proudly bringing one more influential Indian in UK. We have Yash Rangineni with us. A lot of you sitting in South Indian region probably know him by face. He's one of the famous film producers out there, but he's based in London, but did a lot of work in the Indian cinema. So just adding a bit more flavor to our show, I'm actually bringing up entertainment people into the show as well now. So we have Yash Rangineni ji with us. Thank you so much, Yash, for giving your time to us today and to inspire a lot of young people to come into your field of work. So to start with, Yash, if you could please give us quick background of where are you from, how did you start your journey, how did you land into London, and how did you go back to India to make movies and also a quick introduction will be very helpful.
Thank you, Ganesh, first of all. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. And I'm not quite sure, the grand introduction you gave as an influential Indian, first of all, whether I'm eligible for that.
You are,
I'm not quite sure, but I'm privileged and honored to be here with you to share my experiences and how the whole journey has started personally for me and also in terms of how I entered movies. To start with, I came from a family in Mahbubnagar district, a small village called Rakonda.
Okay.
But that district now divided into several other districts, but it's called Nagar Karnool at the moment. So it's part of Nagar Karnool constituency as well. And so my journey started, in India when I finished my BCom. I was thinking about what I wanted to do. All my friends were engineers, and they left for USA, and I didn't know. I felt like I was the only one who was left out, so I wanted to take the same inspiring route for me to, go and try whatever I wanted to try. So I left India back in 1993.
Wow.
It's been a long journey for
30 years, 31 years, yeah.
So what was the other question, sorry?
So how did you, what's your background actually? I have seen some, but yeah, for my audience to let into detail, you come from a legacy, big legacy. If you want to share your legacy,
okay.
Who's
So
your father,
your
grandparents?
I've come from a zamindari family. My grandparents, my granddad was he owned, 7 villages under Kolhapur Samsthanam, it's called. At that time, this is, pre-independence time, British era. So he was the landlord of those 7 villages, so pretty much kind of a small ruling family.
Yeah.
And he did so much for those villages, and we, in fact, developed quite a lot of infrastructure in those villages. At the same time, we managed to really introduce, the art and culture in those villages. My granddad, he was the first generation in those times where he sponsored a group of people, illiterate, but he brought a Brahmin teacher to teach them some poems, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and all of those. So he fed them for years, and he taught them in terms of, he kind of introduced all of this for those people, as an art for those villages, and they went around and performed these mythological plays in those days. So that's where I was inspired when I was growing up in my village back in very early stages during 70s. I used to watch every time in our summer holidays. We used to go to our village from Hyderabad. So we used to watch throughout the night. They used to play from around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and all the way they used to run around 5 a.m. to finish the very epic stories of these plays.
Mythology, yeah.
Yeah.
So you always had art and culture as part of
I
your...
used to really love, how they used to really play those, and I was inspired. So that is my background. So my father, he was a government employee. He was a headmaster, and then he retired as a district joint educational secretary in Hyderabad. So going back to my start, although I had in me in terms of what I wanted to do because of the art experience with my grandparents, I always wanted to be as an actor, go into films. But when I spoke to my dad, he didn't like the idea.
Coming from a legacy family,
Exactly.
probably they don't like it. Yeah.
He was very academic, and he was friends with Nizam and Nizams in those days, and so he said, no, you shouldn't do the films now. You need to make sure you complete your education, and then let's see what happens. But although when I said I come from a Zamindari family, technically we had that tag, Zamindar. We had lands, but we didn't have enough cash.
Yeah, no, I know. I can
We were living a middle class family in Hyderabad. When we used to go to, to a village, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But in Hyderabad, we had a very humble,
like any other family.
Middle class family. So that's why my father was also, you need to first of all settle down and then see what happens and blah, blah, blah. So because of that situation, I had to, put on hold for what I wanted to be, and then, and then went into degree, and then slowly, because of what was happening with my friends, I kind of, completely forgotten about what I wanted. But I always had that back in mind.
Back in your mind.
Yeah. So I left for India and came over here to study, and then I've been here since last 30 odd years.
Yeah, brilliant. So when did you actually realize, I know you have a great career as well. You're one of the directors in NHS as well.
NHS, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an amazing career. So, but apart from that, like when was the trigger that actually, again, I know you had it 30 years back, but when you picked up this movies as a career, not really career, but to produce a movie, it's a big deal. It's to deal with the commercials. It's a lot of money and a lot of effort, and especially sitting in London doing movies back home could have been a nightmare. As in, I don't know. It's a big deal. So how did that happen?
You're right in terms of, it's a very challenging thing, executing a project, sitting in London and then, delivering in India. It's not an easy thing. But to start with, how did I enter into movies? It's all because of Vijay, Vijay Devarkonda. He's my nephew. So Vijay had, after he finished his degree, he was also trying to, break into the Telugu film industry. So at that time, we were all a little bit nervous because Vijay's father was also in film industry. Yeah. But he couldn't really break the ceiling because it was a very tough and very competitive field, particularly in Telugu, how it works. So we were concerned, but at that time Vijay just did a few films, and one of the films, Yavade Subramanyam, was a blockbuster hit with hero Nani. Vijay had a very important role in that film. So after that film, he was still trying, he was still trying to get into the main role, lead roles. But he couldn't. He went around all the production houses, and no one was really willing to offer him the big roles. But somehow he met director Tarun Bhaskar at that time. So they had this beautiful story, and then they were looking for a producer at the time. And so he rang me one day, Mama, which means uncle, obviously. Yeah. Mama, we have this beautiful story. You love films. I know, I'm trying my best here, but I'm unable to get a producer here. Would you mind? Would you be able to produce this film? It's a very small budget, team of young talent, and I'm sure you can afford it. Even if it goes wrong, I'm sure it's not going to, completely dent
you have the appetite. Yeah.
It's not going to dent because it's not a huge budget. Then I got excited because, that's the first option because, as you know...
Yeah, you had that always.
Exactly. And I thought this is a great thing, okay. Then I got introduced to Tarun Bhaskar, and then we had a long conversation. He narrated the story, and I loved it. And that's when the Pellichoopulu started.
Brilliant.
But at the time, again, I was sitting in London. I didn't know. I had no experience. I know how it runs because Vijay's dad was in the industry. We kind of knew. I was with him as an assistant writing scripts and etc. at that time when I was in India. But I didn't know the process, in terms of production, how it should, how we can take it forward.
Yeah.
So I told Vijay, I think, it's all good, well and good, but at the same time, I'm here, you're new, Tarun is also a first-time director, we don't know.
There's a high possibility of
Exactly.
getting into a risk, and
Yeah.
it's a very hypocritic world as well.
Exactly.
Movies is not as
Yeah, we can make the movie, but what else we can do? We
What
didn't
else we
know.
can do,
So
yeah.
we wanted to get someone in, at least as a producer, to support in India. And that's when, we met with Raj Kandakuri through another common friend for Vijay.
Oh, okay.
And then I spoke to Raj, and then we kind of liked the whole thing. And so I was here and Raj was in India. We had very good, throughout the, Pellichoopulu journey was fantastic.
Brilliant.
So that's how it started.
Yashji was humbly saying at the beginning that, I don't know whether I'm an influential Indian, but you heard him saying, guys, Pellichoopulu is one of the biggest path breakers in Telugu cinema. And the Vijay Devarakonda today, everyone calls out as his first biggest movie is Pellichoopulu. And I do have to mention this, Yashji, you won national awards with the first movie. It's a big deal.
It was indeed. I mean, it's definitely a very inspiring story. Not for me personally, but a lot of people who are aspiring to be, filmmakers. In India, particularly, there are literally hundreds of people, youngsters with full of talent. They're unable to get into because there is so much goes on behind the scenes, the competition, the politics and everything. But I was lucky enough to receive that national award for my first film as a producer, because definitely it was a path-breaking film at that time with so many youngsters, first-timers, and such a good, story. Very inspiring story, where a boy and a girl, one guy is a very lazy, laid back, and the other is very ambitious and he wants to. It's totally against the norms. How our society.
How would a Telugu movie look like generally? Yeah.
Societal, the norms. That's where I think it really touched the hearts of millions of people in particularly in Telugu film industry, and Telugu audience really loved that film. So. Yeah, we produced that film under our banner, Big Ben Cinemas. That was the first film. Since then, I've been doing here and there.
Very interesting.
Few stories.
So, I always wanted to ask you, Yashji, I know we know each other for some time, but I always had this question in my mind, but I never asked you. Why Big Ben? You came from background of Telangana. You always had love for Telugu movies. Yeah. I would have thought about something like Why Jayanti and all. You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So like core Indian name, but why Big Ben?
That's a very good question, Ganeshji. First of all, because throughout, if you see any of the Telugu film industry, all production houses either starts with some goddess or god or some their own personal family names and whatnot. But we wanted to come up with something unique so that it can stand out in the crowd, particularly if you name it, because there are so many production houses which starts with Venkateshwara, or some Mata, Devi, and all of those. So if I bring in another production house with similar kind of name, I don't think I will have the space within that. Yeah. So I wanted to come up with something unique where, okay, who is this guy, Big Ben? It sounds foreign. Yeah. It sounds totally not English, not Telugu industry based. So that's one reason. And the second reason was I live in London. So I was inspired by the Big Ben, Big Ben in Parliament, Westminster. There is a huge story behind it as well, how, throughout the World War time and how it inspired the entire nation here. So I wanted to connect that with India.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't my idea.
Yeah. Okay.
It was my daughter's idea, my elder
Brilliant.
daughter. Because when Vijay...
What's her name? Sorry.
Sarmada.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, she just finished automotive engineering.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
I want to share good news as well. Just last week, she got into Bentley.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. Proud dad.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's another story.
So she gave you the name.
Yeah, because I was struggling for almost 3-4 days. I was just jotting down all the names. Vijay and I were, in conversation. Okay, Mama, what else we can? Every time I tried to give a name, he said he didn't like it. Come up with something. It needs to look really blah blah. But he's very creative as well. You know how Vijay carries himself. Yeah. So I put down 10 different names. None of them were really standing
Catchy.
out.
Yeah.
So my daughter came in and she sat next to me and she asked me, Nana means dad, obviously, what are you trying? I said, this is what, okay. And then she started thinking, and said, you live in London. This was her idea, by the way. You live in London. You're making a film in India. I think you should connect something both.
Brilliant.
And why don't you name something English, but also have some, unique connection within your logo.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then she came up with an idea of, okay, Big Ben is, that tower is so inspiring, such a dominating
milestone.
The
landmark
in London. And everyone knows about it throughout the world. So I think you should name something Big Ben and see what else you can do. And she started saying, I think you should use the tower as an eye.
Oh, yeah.
And see how it goes.
Very interesting logo, yeah.
I really loved it straight away. It looks like. And then I rang Tarun. Tarun, what do you think? I said, it's fantastic. Okay, let me see what else I can do. So the idea, the conceptualization was my daughter's. But the design was Tarun's.
Brilliant.
So within 4 or 5 days, he took 4 or 5 days and he came up with this logo. And he introduced, I don't know whether you've seen the Big Ben.
I did.
The actual clock is the Ashoka Chakra.
Yeah.
No,
I've seen it. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's a connection. That's why, because when I said we need to connect something within the logo, use the tower as an eye, but do something where you can connect both India and UK. So he had an idea. So why not, use the tower? That's a brilliant idea. And the chakra, instead of a clock, we use the chakra. So that's where the link is.
That's a great story. It's a very interesting story behind the logo. Okay,
you.
one more factor I definitely wanted to ask you, because you are one of those few people who got the national award to the state. It's not very common, right? Back home, a lot of Malayali movies wins a lot of national awards. And I was surprised when Allu Arjun, Bunny, got the national award for lead actor. That was the first one for Telugu. It's extremely surprising because we have seen such an incredible Telugu cinema in 70 years.
Generally,
but we don't get national awards. How did you crack that? What is the process of national awards?
It's a long process. At the moment, they're actually lagging behind for almost 2 or 3 years. It takes. So if a film releases, say for example, in 2024, the national award will be given sometime in 2026 or 27 for this year's national awards.
Yeah.
Because there is so much involved. First of all, there is an application process. So everyone can apply, by the way. It's not that something, from Telugu film industry, the film chamber or producers
I want
associate.
my friends who's watching this or making the movies and all, I do want them to kind of listen to this very carefully, because a lot of people don't know, Yashji.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to apply. They have no clue. I'm telling you, right? Like, is it like, are people who did not apply that we never got awards, or like, are we not making good cinema?
I think a bit of both, to be honest. But whoever is in the film industry, filmmaking, particularly the regular producers, they know the process pretty much. Their managers can manage the whole journey of the awards, not just the national award, but there is a lot more of other awards. But quite a few new producers, even I didn't know how to apply when I first was thinking about after the film, ran 100 days, then we were, being approached by so many of these award organizers. That's how I got to know, okay, this is the process. This is how I thought they will pick and they will just declare it. It's not the case. Unless you apply, they don't even know.
Yeah.
But some great films, some very successful films, they will be after you because it's a privilege for them to actually host you as an awardee, and also that film, because of the love from the audience,
so they want kinds of Bahubali, RRR,
yeah, exactly.
That's
so
the names.
That's a different journey. But some films, they're very good, but they couldn't really reach the entire audiences. But some of these films are very intellectual, very artistic, and they may not be commercially successful, but there is so much in the film where they deserve an award. Those sort of things, they don't see that. These organizers, they don't see that, but it's our responsibility to take it to them.
That's true.
So with the national award as well, it's the same process. So we have to apply after. There will be a deadline every year, sometime in March, April. By then, you can just log into Indian National Award.
So how do you say? Do they have any criteria in terms of it's which genre?
Which category? Exactly. Okay. So you will have a list of, you can pick. It's a big menu. You can pick where you think your film is going to fit in. You can apply all of those categories. By each category, there is a little fee. You have to pay for it. So, so if you apply for 10 different categories, you could be paying around 20,000 rupees.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a minimum application fee for each category. So you need to make sure, discuss with your team where our strengths are. When we were applying, we knew definitely the film was successful purely because of the director's point of view, the great writing. Not only it's a very modern film, current generation where it connected with, and also the what you call the message we tried to give with the film. That's where we thought it's important we use that. And also we tried with the music, and we also tried for the artists as well. 3 categories we applied, but we have, and also production. So out of 4, we got 2 awards. The Best Director for Regional, which Tarun Bhaskar won. And also for producer, best film for the producers. So
brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant, great journey. But maybe I'm asking this tricky question, but don't get me wrong. But there is this stereotypic expression people talk about awards.
Yeah.
Do you think it does exist? Do you really have to lobby? People say that. Don't get me wrong, but is it like something does it work really?
It happens.
It happens?
It does happen. Unfortunately, there is I shouldn't be saying maybe being in the industry, but I'm not a regular producer, but I want to speak the truth. There is no hiding. There is definitely, however, I have not witnessed myself, in first hand,
You don't know that?
Yeah. But I know there is a lot of talk. I know it because of the people who are involved. These organizers, how they try to, but it does happen. But how much, the big guns involved in this one, I'm not 100% sure. But you could.
But there's a gray area. Okay.
The issue here is, I'm not trying to be negative here.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine.
There are so many award organizers. Everyone wants to give an award. Because particularly when a film does really well, you will be getting at least 10, 20 different people trying to say we are so and so, we organize this. In Tirupati we have this award. Would you mind? Blah blah blah, and you can get an award, but what you need to understand which ones are the ones where they truly the credibility, where they truly recognize, the reasons, why that film should be recognized as one of the best, or whether that's music, the performances, or the dialogues, or whatever it is. So there is definitely at least a handful of very credible awards where
all this lobbying doesn't work.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Absolutely. So my next question to you on the filmmaking process itself, SG, because I'm asking this question to you because you're not a normal producer. You're not there sitting there seeing what's happening day in day out. A lot of people come out and say it's not easy to make a film because it takes a lot of money. There's so much of finances involved, the commercial elements, and all these big names, right? Vijay was easy for you because your family. At that time, he was not a big guy. But today, if you have to get dates of Vijay, probably it's very difficult. So, like any other big stars, right? So how does this work? I mean, if anybody sitting in London, a lot of our friends try to make movies here, but none of them actually hits the screens. You know what I'm saying, right? There are some of our friends, common friends, probably tried to make different movies, but none of them worked. You are the only one who actually made the movies, released them on time, hit big hits, and you could also win national awards and all that stuff. So you would have done something different from other people. So what is that? How does this work?
It's a very difficult question. Maybe I was lucky enough, if I'm being very humble, to tell you the truth. Having Vijay in India does help.
Okay.
Because of, his network within the industry where he had already before, I'm talking about pre-Pellichoopulu, he already done like 3 or 4 different films. So he had little network. And Vijay's dad, my Baba Garu, he's also
known,
TV dramas he directed. He wanted to be an actor, but he couldn't break through. His son now, he's proving it. But he had some people around at the time. But for me, I think anyone can do this, but it needs to start with your story and your team. You can make a film in London with all of those great talent here, unless it's extraordinary. Where even if you take a film from London to exhibit in India, in our Telugu states, it needs to really show why is it different. What is that people needs to get attracted to? It's not about your people. Of course, particularly in our Telugu states, it's a very stars. They lead.
Correct.
They lead the industry. Without a star, it's very hard to actually get a movie commercially successful. And I've noticed that, I've experienced that. But there is also that opportunity, and there is also that gap within the industry where some of the small films with the newcomers, completely new, you can still do it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing it.
Care of Kanchirapalam is one of the biggest examples.
Kanchirapalam, recently Balagam.
Balagam is extraordinary.
Or AnnapurnaPhotoStudio.
Though they had Dil Raju though.
Yeah. I know he had Dil Raju, but it's with a small. I'm not talking about the
I got your
production,
point,
but I'm talking about the artist. Where,
I got your point. Yeah.
Like even AnnapurnaPhotoStudio, I know commercially it didn't work out very well for us. Theatrically, when I say theatrically, not commercially. But again, ETV bought the rights for that. We were safe. That's purely because of the content.
Correct.
It connected with whatever their sensibility they were looking for. So what I'm trying to say here, it is still possible to make a film sitting in London and execute in India and then still release it. But it has to be something completely unique. You need to pick the right story.
Yeah.
You need to pick the right technicians. If you have that, first of all, then that's fine. Because I've seen some of the, quite a few, the local London friends came up to me with some scripts as well. They're okay.
Not extraordinary.
Not extraordinary. Unfortunately, that is the issue. When you are particularly, we need to work, twice more than someone sitting in India. If you are trying to break it from here, you need to really, because no one knows about you.
True.
unless you come up with something extraordinary where it will connect not only in Telugu audience, but you probably have to, connect with the local here as well. If you come up with a story where it really influences everyone's mind, then that is possible. But it's important, the technicians and the script. If you have
Having a
those,
good team is the key.
good team is key.
Always the key. Yeah.
What I've noticed, I'm sorry I'm being critical here, but so far we have quite a few filmmakers in London. We're all friends, right? There is no one here a celebrity or anything. Everyone is trying to do whatever they can. So when they are trying to team up with these, just because you're good at some, not entirely your one area, but you're not a pro yet. I think that's where we are compromising. Okay, it's good to get together a few people, but are you sure, as a director, whoever wants to direct that film, whether he has the right technicians around him?
Makes complete sense.
It is very important, if I take an analogy of cricket, captain's there, but how much captain can do?
Yeah, you need to have the right team.
He is great guy, Virat Kohli or Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he can really run his troops really well, but he knows who can deliver what.
Yeah.
He will pick and put in those right places. This is a guy who is going to deliver that way. And that's the same thing we need to happen. It needs to happen in the filmmaking in London here. What we are doing is we are getting these 11 players, but no one's got the extraordinary strength where they can, shoulder the entire team along with them.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're all there, but it's not.
It's not yet there.
Yeah.
Like you're in the path, but probably not there.
I'm sure this is probably not going to go very well.
It's
with
fine.
a lot of people might.
This is candid conversations, by the way. You got to be candid. And thank you for being candid, actually, to be very honest, Yash, because it is important, because a lot of people do come to me and say, like, I do get, Insta messages and all those people, like, we have a great story. And when I get into there, like, after reading like 30 minutes of the story, I know that there is bits coming from everywhere. And then I go back and say, you know what, I'm not getting that new element into it. It's something I know already. So
the problem, can I, I'm
sure.
taking long here for this question.
No,
the reason is because I want someone to really come up with some great stuff from London. I've known quite a few people here, and they, I speak to them. I recently spoke to one of our friends. Why don't you start really, bring everyone together like a forum?
Yeah.
Let's discuss, and then see how that journey goes. At the moment, everyone is trying to do their bits in pockets. Yeah. There is no, a middle ground where everyone can, spend together all these creative brains and then bounce on ideas and what we can do together.
It's a very good idea, actually.
That's where I just a few months ago, I had this idea.
Why don't you take that initiative then?
I can. I said, that's what I said, why don't you just see who else can come in and we'll meet. Let's see, if the problem here is also egos.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
especially creative people.
Yeah, it's not easy because who is this bloody hell? Why is he talking to me? Who are you to tell me about this?
That makes sense.
I think if everyone can come together on a middle ground and then they explore, okay, what do we have? What are the resources we have in London? Who are these people? Someone must be really sitting at home, but they don't know what to do. Extraordinary, cinematographer or musician. There are a lot of people there. But they're not coming together as one. And that's where I think we can really explore the ideas and also bring the talent out and then see what else we can do with these people in London.
Makes sense completely. Yeah. I think you touched upon really interesting stuff. And one quick question I had, Yashi, do you have connects with the film schools in London? Because the reason I'm asking this question is a lot of young talent, the teenagers or the Indian origin kids, right? I mean, dads came here, like your kids, right?
Yeah.
They want to do some creative work. But do you have a connect with either UEL or, I mean, we have film studios right now in Bakangdagan, I don't know if you are aware. So all those people are actually coming here and learning from across the world People do come to London, people go to California, people go to different places, Hollywood and all, to study films, right? Are we bringing that into this? Like, do you have any connects? Do you have any platform where you can actually connect these talents and bring into
Unfortunately,
academic as well?
Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to actually speak to any of these, schools. Just purely because I haven't done a film based in London where, the entire shooting or picking up the local artists. So it wasn't needed for me at this moment. But I know every London boroughs currently have an art and drama workshop or weekends or evenings, and some, the councils run these as well with very minimum fee. I've seen in Kent, they have like £100. It's like a workshop for 7-day workshop on acting.
100 meters from here, we have Broadway Theatre.
Really?
It works absolutely on theatrical dramas and
so
all.
So just to give you the answer, I haven't got any.
I think that's an area which all of these people, like, I think these are the two different dots that needs to connect. We have these filmmakers who are interested to make big films, and we also have a lot of talent sitting in the colleges, schools, all these art centers who can come together and probably work together to bring something out of London.
For the last couple of years, I've been speaking to a few of the people, I want to make a film in London. That's purely because there are two reasons, one, the commercial aspect, and the other one, I know we can do with just the local talent. Even just for the OTT, we can just pitch it to OTT. It's not necessarily a theatrical release in India, but even if you can pitch it to either Netflix or the Amazon, Prime, or even in India, either, the Hotstar, all of these people, and that's possible. That's purely because the reason I'm saying the commercial here, UK gives us, nearly, recently they have raised the subsidy. If you're making a film in UK, they raised, I think, from 25 to 30% to almost to 45 or 50% of the your budget. You can, they will reimburse you.
Grants.
There is, if you're making a film here, almost 50% is covered. So the only expectation is we need to shoot, approximately, again, 40% of the film needs to be UK based with local artists, and that is possible. There is so many directors I know.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know this. I think we need to be detailing out this. I think, and everyone watching this interview, please do watch out and listen to Yashji, what he's saying. So you said like 40% reduction in the cost?
In the cost, if that's you're making a film with, let's say, 200,000, a simple film, I'm sorry. 40% of that 80, is UK government is giving it to you. Brilliant. So that's nearly £80,000 return.
That's big. That's big actually.
That's a big one. So you're already safe in a way before you're pitching it to OTT.
That's true.
And the expectation is not great. The guidance says very clearly, as long as you pick the local talent, and then a minimum of 40% of your entire shooting days is done here. On an average, a film takes about 40 to 50 days minimum. Okay, regardless of with new talent, maybe we can cut down to 35 days potentially. So if you can do 20 days here and the remaining 15 days, it depends on the story again. You don't have to go all the way anyway to India. If you have a story, it's purely London based, London lifestyle, and which connects everyone.
You don't have to struggle for the locations here. You have great locations, great weather. That's true actually. Indeed, it's a good good fix for people who are struggling about the big budgets and all. You don't have to go back and build. Okay, that's amazing.
So my advice for people here, whoever is trying to do, instead of, I think to start with, if someone is really coming up with some great ideas, see if your story works just for the London. And as I said, commercially that will work out because of the subsidy we are going to get. And also we are using the local talent, which is not going to cost. And we can, I think people have done it already. I know in the past, a couple of guys who made films, they've done it. I don't know whether they managed to really get this claim.
I don't think so. I know them personally. I don't think so. But I see, to be very honest, a lot of people don't even know this. To be very, very honest. Okay, that's interesting. So one more element I do wanted to touch with you Yash, is when you have to pick the stories, right? What's your process of picking up stories? Like, do you actually connect with people directly, or do they come to you over because you sit here most of your time? I know you travel bits to India, but all this new Chandu for example, Annapurna Photo Studio, or Tarun reached out to you because you had connection with Vijay. But if anybody is sitting in India, like South Indian states or wherever, I know you can make pan-Indian movies. You're a big producer now. So how did that work? Like, can they reach out to you directly? How do they reach out to you?
You can. My email address is bigbencinemas@gmail.com. We also have a bigbencinemas.com website as well, so you can go through the process how we pick the stories.
I shall share that in the description as well, guys.
Yeah, so we have a writing team in India. Generally, they will filter some of these scripts for us.
Okay.
So you can send your pitch deck or even complete script if you have, forward it to our email address bigbencinemas.com. And then once that filtered through the first layer, then I get to know, what are these scripts, they've shortlisted. And through that, I'll just go through and then I'll speak to them. I'll share my personal number and then start, discussing about how that's going to work and etc. So it's not a lengthy process, but it's just, it depends on, how you present your story. The problem is I have had in the last year or so approximately almost 20 to 30 scripts.
Oh my God.
And their interaction first thing, so dear so-and-so, sir, blah, 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 blah. I'm so-and-so, I'm pitching my film. This is just like, another Pellichoopulu.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, or this is just like another, a dear
Dorasani,
Comrade. This is just another like, Arjun Reddy. As soon as I read that first paragraph, I know there's no point going it through. Because, if Sandeep Reddy Vanga, the director of Arjun Reddy, if he makes another Arjun Reddy again, no one is going to
No one is going to watch.
We watched it, and that was the unique, that's the first thing, that's the fresh, content, and people loved it.
Yeah.
If you make the same stories and again,
That's not going to work.
it's not, people, particularly the choice we have currently, in olden days, it's a different, stories, you can only, there is a saying in particularly in Telugu industry, people say there are only maximum up to 5 to 8 different stories you can tell. Everything goes around that. There's
Rich Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, our life revolves around those stories.
Yeah, I know.
But you need to bring the uniqueness within that story. You can't really recreate a completely new thing.
Yeah.
But you already have that base. But how do you actually make that even more interesting, even more engaging, even more, unique? What are those attributes where you can really
bring the difference.
Exhibit your own uniqueness, your own skill level. How do I, it could be the same old story, but what is that extra thing you're doing in terms of, to make sure your film really stands out? If you make the same stuff like what others have done, that means you're not creative. You're just basically copying what others have already done. And that's why I get a little bit sometimes really anxious, when people pitch it and then if you don't respond, and they'll start emailing 4 or 5 times. Oh, you haven't even, responded. What's the point emailing it to you and all of that? But what else I can do? I can't.
But they can reach out to you. Your team, there's a team. So I think if you have any stories, interesting stuff, do reach out to Big Ben Cinemas. Or you can write to me. I have connected with the SG. I can connect. I mean, if we like it, then you will get a call. But yeah, that's good. One more aspect I wanted to check with you is how is this OTT thing working out on generally, right? Because in the erstwhile days you had to pitch to distributors and all to sell your movie, but now after COVID, OTT has become really, really predominant, right? I mean, there are movies which are doing extremely well, not even hitting the theatricals. They don't even want to.
There are nearly 200 films
Yeah.
waiting to be released, waiting to be bought by OTT. No one is interested. these people, 200 films, you know, I don't know how many producers involved in those 200 films. This is what I heard recently. They don't know what to do with that film.
How to crack this? How did you crack it?
The issue is, you know, why are they not getting sold?
Yeah. What do you think the answer is?
The answer is because the OTT people are not interested, because it's nothing new in there, nothing new. You know, they're bringing these people, they're spending a lot of money as well at the same time. I recently heard, you know, one fellow spent nearly, you know, 20 crore rupees.
Oh my God, that's a big money.
Him being the hero himself, and he brought in quite a lot. But the issue is when I watched a bit of that film, first 10 minutes of, everything looks really rich, absolutely fantastic. But he followed a template in terms of, you know, the commercial, you know, he went to Europe for the songs and all of that. But there is nothing new in terms of, there is no excitement in the film. There are like 4 fights, there are like 2-3 songs, and there is a huge, you know, very classy, you know, the locations, beautiful, everything looks nice. But nothing there in the film.
But that changed, right, Yashi? It's very interesting. People are still looking at that templates because in the recent times...
The template only works, the template works only for stars.
Only for stars, yeah.
If you are new and you are the hero, you are investing money and you want to spend 20 crore rupees on you, I would say no, don't do
it. Yeah.
Don't
Not
do
worth
that.
it, yeah.
I would rather you spend 2 crores, you being the same hero, but come up with something extraordinary story where you portray yourself as a character, not as a hero. And that's where a lot of people are making mistakes. You know, because everyone wants to be. Who doesn't like film industry?
Everyone loves.
Everyone loves film, because, you know, I can challenge you on this one. If you take a mic, go around. You know, what is our population in the world now? Approximately, 7.5 billion people.
6-7 billion, yeah.
And you go and speak to, if there is an opportunity to somehow find a way to speak to everyone, put a mic in front of them and then say, you know, I have a film role for you. You're going to be on the screen for 5-10 minutes. Would you mind? Would you like to? No one would say no.
No, yeah, that's true.
They might feel a little bit shy, why me, and blah, blah, hesitant. But when they say, hey, come on, man, it's easy. Come on, you will be on the screen and say, okay. Who doesn't want it?
Everyone wants the spotlight, right? Everyone likes the fame.
That's purely because of what it is. Film industry, there is no other industry where you'll be treated like God.
Yeah.
You know, particularly the heroes.
Especially in South India.
Particularly the artists, Everything at the expense of others. You know, the producers is paying everything for you, right? You will get to travel all over the world. You will be fed with one of the, you know, the star, you know, 7-star food, You will be given everything plus the money in literally millions of rupees to give it to you. And then we still have to be, you know, and then that's purely because of what they are. Artists, actors are not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy to be
and that is the only profession where you get to be someone else.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm an artist, if I'm an actor, you know, I can be a poorman, I can be a policeman, I can be a military officer, I can be a completely nasty, you know, a psychopath. I can be a very, you know, emotionally driven, you know, a family man. I can be...
That's absolutely true.
Every single character. I can be a dog. You can play anything.
And you can be someone who is completely different than you. Like, for example, Ranbir, as an individual, he's so soft. But look at Animal. You would never imagine Ranbir would do Animal. I don't know how Sandeep convinced Ranbir. But once you watch the movie, you would be lost. If you have ever seen Ranbir, and if you see Animal, you would never relate.
He's such a soft person.
Very soft, very humble, very down to earth.
And to transform that into so aggressive, you know, very psychotic, you know, that behavior to bring out...
Incredible.
That, you know, that is the only profession.
That's cinema.
And that is what people love it, you know, because everyone wants to be like that, but unfortunately not everyone can be. But whoever can, and that's why, you know, they get that love, they get the affection, they get the, you know, the attention wherever they go. And not only artists, even the producers, why, some of these producers are very celebrated these days. That's purely because of their taste.
Yeah.
Not everyone, whoever's got the money, they can be a producer, but not everyone can be a good producer.
Yeah.
The good producers are those who knows what their sensibilities are, what they want to really tell, what kind of stories they want to tell, how they want to connect their own personality to the audience, and there is a lot of thinking behind it as well. Not necessarily, but that's where when I said about these 200 films are sitting there, just the boxes, digital hard drives, in their own living rooms.
But I have a lot of sympathy for them, Yashi. What happens to them? Because these guys bring like 2 to 3 crores of money,
Yeah.
200, 300,000 GBP, put into these small movies. And if that doesn't work, they're almost bankrupt. Is it
Just recently, after I sold my film AnnapurnaPhotoStudio to ETV, I had 2 films. Those guys, they came to me and said, Yash Garu, can you please help us? We made this film 3 years ago, and we pitched to every single OTT platform, and no one really responded even. What is the secret to sell? Is there anything you can share? I said, okay, send me some details. What is these? And they even shared their Vimeo, the link to this, film. But when I watched the film, unfortunately, I really couldn't help. I could have, even for me to really say, okay, it's because of the network I have, I could have said, directly say, this is a good film. Why don't you just watch it and see if that's worth for you or something? I couldn't even send it to them purely because it's my credibility at risk, if I send some of those films as well. Nothing wrong making the film, but what I didn't find in that film is, unfortunately, there is nothing where it connects with the audience.
It's ultimately business, isn't it?
It is.
So it has to work for OTT as well. I can't just buy something which doesn't work for me. I can't just have my space for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like
It's
any
the
theater.
viewership,
Absolutely.
When they are investing so much money, OTT firm, they want to recover that investment within the first, 5 to 6 months. No film after 6 months is going to run, unless it's really good and then word of mouth spreads. But other than that, if they don't recover, then that's a waste of money.
And these days with the technology, right, even with the smallest of money, you can make a movie. That's how it is. So in this crowd, if you want to stand out, you got to be different, and it makes complete sense. Thank you so much for all those inputs. I think it's very, very helpful to the new filmmaker especially. But I can't close this interview without talking about Arjun Reddy and the Vijay Devarakonda. So do you want to, so I know he's doing all this, you talk to him closely. Sorry, I know it's not a personal question to you, but I just wanted to understand from your end, because you're very close to Vijay, what's his take on all this recent big films that he made, like, Liger, kinds of Ligers and all. I know Vijay. We have heard Vijay personally on a lot of talks and all. What kind of what is his take on this big numbers when they doesn't work? The reason I'm asking this question, SG, is because a lot of people will be disappointed if something doesn't work.
Yeah.
And with a kind of that scale, but Vijay came up so strong. Even yesterday he was talking on Family Star, like tremendous. His confidence, his comeback. How does that work? I mean, you know him personally, so I just want to understand from you.
Vijay, a lot of people sometimes, they misunderstand Vijay's behavior on stage, particularly because of the attitude he
brings on to that.
brings on to that. That's him. But Vijay, knowing him very personally, he's a very humble. With a lot of humility, a lot of respect for elders, everything. He doesn't have that arrogance. But he's extremely, extremely confident person.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that confidence comes across as an arrogance for others. Vijay, being as an outsider, if he doesn't project that confidence, it's very hard for him to sustain in the industry. He needs to fight. He's a fighter. Yeah. He needs to fight, and that's why whenever he takes the mic, whenever he goes onto the stage and he says what he believes. A lot of people, criticized him during the Liger promotions as well. Oh, why did he have to say, what laga denge? Yeah. But that he was, what laga denge was
That's his character.
that's
in
his
the movie.
character in the movie.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying, but
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that he's, he's not saying it to anyone else. That's what when he promotes his film, he promotes his character in the film. He wants to connect with the audience what he is as a person and also what his character in the film. And that's why with the Family Star recently, he's bringing the family element, how he grew up and all of that. That's how he connects with that. So going back to the numbers you're talking about, it's important. To sustain in the film industry, it's all about commercials. Okay. It's all about the money. If I'm investing on a hero, nearly 30 crore rupees, and if I'm not getting even a 35 crore rupees, it's not worth the hard work,
Yeah.
So the commercials only work when you have certain things going in your favor. Each hero has got a valuation. As a producer, that's what if I'm recruiting one of the heroes, let's say, they call, I hate to say this tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 heroes.
But they do have tier 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the media created it, They don't feel, no hero feels I'm tier 1, I'm tier 2, and no one disrespects each other. They have the very good mutual understanding and respect for each other. But, if I talk in that language, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever, the heroes, everyone's got, their own market. That's why they made those tiers for those.
Yeah.
So a tier 3 hero can only make a maximum of, no matter how good the film is, it could probably bring in, let's say, 30, 40 crores. But that 40 crore, it has to do extremely, extremely well. It needs to really crack the overseas, audience at the same time in both Telugu states.
True.
But to recruit a tier 3 hero, I won't be able to spend 30 crores on him.
True.
It might work, if the film is really super hit, it might bring in 30 crores, but to invest 30 crores on the hero, it won't work because he hasn't proved enough to, in a sustained, period of time where he is always bringing those films with such a high returns.
That's true.
And that's why commercials. So every hero always tries to go, above their market. If Vijay is currently making around 80 to 100 crore market, he wants to be that next hero where he wants to bring in 150 to 200 crore. And that's where his market will raise. And that's where, other people will make money along with the producers as well. Yeah. So it's important to have those numbers in place because, certain heroes' films work entire South India. Vijay's films currently, pretty
almost
much, with a good reception, even in Tamil and, Kannada as well. Certain heroes bring in only in Telugu audience. So there is market for every single hero. But every hero is aspiring to, break that next ceiling. What is my next target? If they don't have those targets, obviously, they won't. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And that's why it's important to have those numbers and those aspirational goals.
Yeah. With that, it brings me to the last question, probably, of this conversation, Yashi. What's the next movie from you? What's happening? What's cooking?
I've shortlisted a very, very good story recently.
Okay.
It's a
the
family.
stars, is it?
It's not star based. It's a complete. You know how I make. I would like to.
Keep it simple.
I focus on the story. Yeah. Generally, throughout my films, if you take all of my films, introduce a new director or new artist or someone new within. Even with this film, it will be a completely debut director, a female, first time in my production, a female director.
So
and
you're bringing one more Nandini.
A story, fingers crossed, maybe even more.
Oh,
we don't know. I'm saying, Nandini Reddy, she's a wonderful
amazing,
director. Yeah. She's the first, I think. I know after, in the past, with Vijay Nirmal and all of that. But in the
recent times, that's Nandini,
she's a wonderful director. I've known her. Anyway, so she's got the potential to, be like Nandini Reddy Garu as well. But what I'm trying to say, this story is definitely it's a psychological, emotional, very hard-hitting story. It's a female-led story as well. No heroes, no nothing.
Brilliant.
The lead character is female, middle-aged female, and she drives the story, and she will be the lead as well. So currently, we are in conversations with ETV. They love the script.
Are you not making for theatrical?
Theatrical as well.
Okay.
But you know how
Yeah,
I
I know,
wanted
I know.
to close the business
sure,
first,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
That's very smart.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest tips that you can give to the market, Yashji, because when I spoke to for Annapurna Photo Studio as well, I told you, even before the release, 3 months, 4 months before the release, you know who's it going to. That's amazing, actually.
And that's important because, I don't have a star cast in my film where I can get the minimum guarantee, if I'm spending whatever the money. With having these big stars and big, technicians, you will recover nearly 80% of your budget before even with the release, where, the stories I'm telling doesn't require stars.
True.
And for me to be safe, commercially, I have to make sure the business is done before the theatrical. Theatrical is my bonus. If it works, I'll be happy, and that's like a lottery for me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then at least I'm still safe, where I can reinvest and make another film. So ETV definitely, they love the script, and we already had 2 narrations.
Brilliant.
We are just waiting. They had a couple of changes they requested, so we're working on that. Very soon, in the next couple of weeks, there will be another final narration once that's done.
So when are you hitting the ground then?
Hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll go.
Brilliant. All the best. Congratulations on all the success so far.
Thank you so much indeed. And,
I always say this to you, and I think I did tell you before, the movies that you pick inspires me. But the reason I picked you for the influential Indian series as well, because a lot of great stuff came from your movies. Pellichoopulu inspired tons, thousands of people. You can't imagine, Yashi. I don't know how many of you met personally, but I've met so many who came to me and said, if this movie wasn't made, I would have never thought about making movies. Yeah. And that's a big statement. It's not easy to break that ceiling. So that's one thing. And Dorasani is my all-time favorite. And I told Anand as well when I met him, and thank you for introducing me to Anand. It is actually one of the finest written movies, but maybe not for the right times, maybe, I don't know. But it's amazingly written story, and Mahendra was extraordinary.
Definitely.
On that. And Dear Comrade is one of the very, very, very interesting stories as well. And I think it could have made big numbers, but people didn't see that. But all this filmography that you made inspired a lot of people. That's what I'm trying to say. So you wanted to say something?
No, Dear Comrade, we have lots of requests coming through for a lot of people recently for the last 5-6 months, particularly.
For re-releases?
Re-release. So we are planning, hopefully both Pellichoopulu and Dear Comrade, we might be able to re-release pretty soon.
Pellichoopulu will make numbers, definitely will make, and Dear Comrade will definitely make numbers as well. Because post Dear Comrade and the sensitive topic of what you touched in Dear Comrade, Gargi did very well, and even Fida, Shekhar Kamala touched sensitive topic. In Love Story, he touched that as well. Like this women-centric stuff, but the way Dear Comrade, I think the star cast and all that stuff actually overshadowed the conceptually sometimes, and that's what happened with Dear Comrade. That's what my personal.
Dear Comrade would have been Dear Comrade. In fact, just for your own information, Dear Comrade made more money
than any other
as a dubbing in Hindi.
Oh, okay.
Goldmine, he bought the dubbing rights.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, he made more money by just dubbing into Hindi because people loved it.
People loved it.
What he has done is very smartly. Had we cut, at least if we had like 10 minutes lesser duration for that film, that would have been a blockbuster as well.
That's true.
But commercially still worked for us. It wasn't a flop. We made money as well. Not as much as what the industry was anticipated at the time. The promotions we did, there was a huge expectation, a lot of hope that it's going to completely break even Geeta Govinda numbers. Unfortunately, it didn't. That's purely because of there are some.
But that's a brilliant title. What a title! Yeah. What a vibe you had.
And the music,
Rashmika, Vijay. Oh my God! What else you wanted? Yeah.
Justin Prabhakaran music, one of the best music he has
music, yeah.
done for that film.
And Sriram's songs,
Yeah,
brilliant.
absolutely
What a
wonderful.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Great stuff, but all that stuff is amazing. And the reason I'm saying that is, I just wanted to remind people, we didn't speak about your filmography a lot, but I just want to remind you all, Yash is the one who made Pellichoopulu, who made Dorasani, who made Dear Comrade, who made AnnapurnaPhotoStudio, and who's going to bring up a big movie very soon. So I'm so looking forward to Yashji. Personally, I love your movies.
Thank you
so
so much.
thank you so much for everything that you have done. Especially today, I loved the conversation because you brought in a lot of interesting topics. I'm sure a lot of people will hit your door now talking about that 40% discount on the budget. How can
quite
you
a few
bring it?
people
Yeah.
know. I mean, those
Yeah.
who are in the, they're trying to make films in.
They should know it.
They are aware, but I don't know how much they really looked into explore that option and see how they can make the film, bringing that possibility into into the mix. Because if you're planning a film, you need to make sure how do I get this 40% subsidy through
The governments,
being in London.
Yeah.
So you need to create that kind of stories where it suits us. It's safe, it's possible. We can create opportunities locally as well. A lot of people, but as I said, the main thing is your writing, your script.
That's the key.
Work on that. It needs to be something completely unique. It needs to be completely something very interesting, very engaging. Whatever the genre you're picking, whether that is a family story, whether that is a rom-com or crime thriller, whatever it is, but it needs to be something unique.
Yeah.
And that also should involve your technicians. Who are these people who are working on? How do they actually bring their talent to this?
My son would love this conversation because he loves writing and he wants to be a director eventually at some
He's
point.
got a nice smile, You've got a very beautiful smile.
All right.
Very good.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, SG. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Always
once
pleasure
again.
to connect with you.
But once again, truly appreciate, for having me here, and I'm privileged and honor. Once again, I'm saying, I'm a very private person, but for you to introduce in such a grand way as an influential Indian, which I don't think, I feel a little bit nervous.
You are.
I
Indeed,
feel,
you are.
I don't know, for some reason, it's not that. But as long as if it helps this conversation with anyone, and I'm more than happy to be there again, in any way. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
audience.
so much.
Looking forward to see you back again with another amazing individual very soon. But thank you so much for your support.